Yo, what's good everybody? Hope y'all doing well. In this video, I'm going to be showing y'all the method that I use to make placement friendly beats that are easier to rap on than most of my normal beats. And I'll be showing y'all the entire 5-step process that I use to make these. So with all that being said, let's just get right into it. As always, the first thing we're going to start with is a blank FLP. And for the tempo, I'm feeling something kind of on the faster side, so we'll start out with a tempo of about 155. So let's jump into step one, which is finding or making your main melodic motif. And what that means is we want to start off with a melody sound, and we want to make our melodic basis with this. So usually I'll just start with some sound that I think would sound good and just lay down a basic melody. You could also use a phrase or an accent. I feel like it'd be better if I just showed y'all how you do it from scratch. I'm kind of feeling a guitar type of vibe, specifically this kind of lap steel sound. I was playing around with it on another beat recently, and it was this preset. I'm gonna start this in the key of D minor, and I might change it around, but right now I just have D minor in the ghost notes. And so what I'm gonna do is start off with the root note of D, and I think I'll also put down A, which is the 7th note in the scale, but I'm gonna drop it down an octave. And so right now we just got something like this. So nothing too crazy. I think I'm also gonna stack that A up one octave. And you know what? I'm going to turn down the omnisphere a little bit. It's getting a little loud. And so now I'm going to start by putting in some filler notes here. Let me try this out. I think that's going to be too repetitive if we have this hit every measure. So I'm just going to extend these, and I'll extend the top one too. And now we got to fill out the second measure with some melodic notes. I think what I want to do is something like this. Alright, so this is good so far. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. And to make this a little bit less repetitive, what I'm going to do is go here and move this down to E, move this to F. And so now I'm just going to duplicate this for 8 measures, and I'll go ahead and extend all these too. So now that we have our main motif, the next step is going to be adding some counter melodies. For beats for artists, you typically don't want to make too many counter melodies. Sometimes it works, but I'd say at most there's probably 3 or 4 melodies in a lot of popular beats, and even still 3 or 4 is sometimes a little bit too much depending on how much you're doing with each melody. But for this one, since it's already really simple, we could probably go ahead and add another 2 or 3 more if we really want to. So the next thing I'm gonna do is probably open up a piano sound, because I'm kind of hearing a piano counter melody right now. So I'm gonna get this LA Custom preset from Keyscape and go ahead and put down a counter melody here. All right, so let's just go ahead, play that bottom melody, and we'll just throw in some notes as we need to. It's kind of hard to hear the piano, so I'm going to go ahead and level out the sounds real quick. Actually, I'm going to change the preset on this. It's a little bit too twangy for my liking. I like this. It's a lot more subtle. All right, so that's good. I'm going to go ahead and EQ this a little bit. You know what, on the guitar, I'm actually going to throw on some RC20. We'll turn off the noise and turn the wobble down a little bit. Turn the distortion down too, it's already loud. And I think this could use like a little bit of chorus or flanges or something like that. So I'm going to start with a chorus. This is good, I just don't want it to be as predominant. So I'm going to turn the mix level down, start with like half and see what it sounds like. And turn it up a little bit. Around 75% sounds good. Turn the piano up a little bit, and I'm gonna go ahead and EQ out this low part. Get some of that percussive key noise out. And it sounds kind of boring by itself, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw on some Portal. Nothing too crazy though. Probably just something to add some texture to it. All right, so that's good, but I'd want it to be a little bit more subtle. So let's move this to like 35, 40-ish. All right, that's good. And now it's kind of quiet, so I'm just gonna throw a compressor and just turn it up. So that's our first counter melody. I'm just gonna go ahead and add down a bass piano, and that'll be it for counter melodies. So for the bass piano, I'm just gonna go down to this octave, the 3 octave. And I'll go ahead and duplicate that and copy it down an octave. And I'm gonna lower the velocity using Alt Scroll, and then select these and then hit Alt X and just move it down to about here, velocity wise. And so this is what it sounds like with all the other stuff. Turn it up a little bit in velocity. All right, so I'm gonna send that to the mixer track and level out with the other sounds. All right, so I think we got a pretty good basis going here. So now that we got the first couple steps down, the next one is going to be playing around with the octave of the original melody. So what I'm gonna do is go to my pattern here, right click on it and hit split by channel. And so now what I wanna do is take the original melody. I'm gonna copy it down here and make it unique. And I'm gonna start by moving it up 1 octave and see what it sounds like. It's a little too high pitched for my liking, so I'll move it down 1 octave from the original. All right, this sounds a whole lot better. So what I think I'll do is I'll have the low octave version for the intro, and then when everything else comes in, I'll put it all together like this. And I guess one last melody that I kind of feel like putting in is a bass guitar, and this will probably only be used for like the intro. I'll get this bass guitar one shot from my upcoming multi-kit. And this is gonna be super simple. It's just gonna be the same note as our low piano. I'm gonna leave that over here in the intro, then make another pattern clip. And now let's move on to our 4th step, which is going to be making the drums. All right, so for our drums, I'm just gonna grab some basic sounds. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is put down the clap and just put it on every measure. All right, I'm liking this, so I'm gonna copy this, paste it onto the snare, and I think I wanna add like a little bit of a counter snare here, but nothing too much. Next I'll put down my hi-hat. This is pretty important, but you don't want your hi-hats to be way too complicated. It's just gonna make it harder to rap on, but you also don't wanna make it super simple to where it's not really fun to listen to. So I already went ahead and put in some 2-step hats. And I'm gonna go ahead and go to the 1/3 step snap to grid and the paintbrush tool and add a couple rolls. Keeping that same theme of simplicity, I'm just gonna copy it for the second half here. I changed this pitch though. And I'll probably move this earlier in the measure like that. Now we got that down, I'm gonna put down the openet. Alright, and now I'm gonna move on to the 808, put the envelope on it, and I just put down these 4 notes. It's just on the root note of the scale. You can make your 808s interesting, but for the sake of this example, I'm just gonna try to keep them simple. So I'm just gonna go in like 2 measure increments here and make adjustments to the 808. Alright, so I think that's pretty much all I'm gonna do for the drums here. Since I went ahead and put this little 1 step up at the end here, I'm gonna go and do the same thing for the bass guitar just so it's consistent. Also for the intro pattern, I feel like these little low notes are too low. They kind of interfere with our bass sound a little bit, so I'm just going to delete them. So now that we got our drums down, I'm going to do a quick mix and I'll come back for step 5. One thing I want to do before I move on to step 5, I'm going to go ahead and put some sound shifter on the master and just play around with the transpose a little bit and see if there's another key that I like better than this one. So I'm liking C sharp minor a little bit more. So what I'm gonna do is go to the left side here and just select all of the melodies where the notes actually matter. Basically everything except for our drums minus the 808. And then I'm gonna right click on it, go to transpose and hit -1, and that should move everything down. Okay, so now that we switched the key, let's move on to the last step, which is arrangement. So for the arrangement, typically you want an intro that doesn't have any drums. That way the artist can kind of get the gist of the flow. It gives them time to punch in when they start recording. So typically you want the intro to just be kind of low key. And then if you really want like the drums to pop, and if you really want to catch the attention of whoever's listening, have that switch up in the octave of the original melody. Even without the drums, it makes it sound a lot more interesting. Of course, with the drums, it's gonna make it stand out a lot more. And so now what we wanna do is just go ahead and arrange this in a way where it's gonna be very easy to rap on. So in other words, we're not gonna do anything too much with the arrangement, pretty much like we did with everything else, just keep it pretty simple. And so for beats that are around this tempo, I'd say anything above like 140, I would say each of your segments of the song, you probably wanna keep it at around 16 measures. So for example, this is gonna be our hook. I have it at 16 measures. For my verse, I'll have that at 16 measures. So we already have our hook pretty much done here. And then what I'm gonna do is duplicate this over. And for the verse, usually what I like to do is go and switch to the other octave version of your original melody. And what I'll do is probably take out the counter melody as well, just to make it so that there's more room. Or what I'll do is I'll take the bass notes out and take one of these counter melodies out of the hook. And so now you have a intro, hook, and a verse. At the end of the verse, you can put down a bridge, which is kind of in a way just like another intro or a break in the beat, or you can just duplicate this over and repeat the process by just starting the hook or the chorus all over again. That's up to you, depends on the beat that you're making. For this one, I will go ahead and just make like a break right here, but instead of the bass guitar, I'll actually put down an 808 and keep that low melody, and then I'll go ahead and just take this verse here and just copy it over, and I'll just go ahead and throw down an outro here, just the hook with the drums cut out except for the 808. All right, so that's gonna do it for this video. I appreciate y'all for tapping in, and I appreciate all the support y'all been giving me. I don't really got anything else. New multi-kit's on the way. I was working on that, but just some life stuff came up and I just wasn't able to do it. But hopefully I'll have that multi-kit out probably in the next month or two, so be ready for that. Yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for this one, and I'll see y'all in the next video.